Welcome to Meet the Expert. I'm Barry Schmel with the Google Cloud Learning Services team, and I'll be your host for this special webinar series designed to help you make the most of Google Meet to work remotely with your teams and your customers. The first webinar session is for G Suite IT administrators, your sysadmins, and provides the first steps for getting your organization up and running with Google Meet. The basic format will be I'll spend a few minutes presenting a few slides and then go into a live demo and then answer some of the common questions we get from our customers. Also, remember to check out next week for our end user session, Meet the Expert Getting Started with Google Meet, the same time as it is right now, but next week, Thursday, the 14th of May at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. Join Meet the Expert website to get the full schedule. In the second session, we'll be doing actually a live Meet session with some of my colleagues, and I'll walk through some of the features that are available to you. So let's look at the agenda. First, we're going to discuss how to set up Google Meet for your organization, explore the admin console settings, use the Google Meet quality tool to identify issues with end user desktop and mobile devices, get your users set up, locate online resources to support your organization, and get answers to some of the common questions we receive through our support organization. After the event, we'll post the links to the common online resources so you can reference them later on. So I've been at Google now for over 12 years, and we believe video is the best way to collaborate with others. Video promotes higher engagement and consequently improves productivity. Even before our current situation, I've always used Google Hangouts or Meet to work effectively with my teammates. Every Monday morning, I meet with my teammates both in London and Paris while working together and adopt to plan our week's activities. It's very effective. Usually I'm having my morning coffee here in San Francisco, and then they're having their evening tea there. But especially now, Google Meet is even more significant while we're all working from home and remotely. We're able to work together with our colleagues, conduct meetings, build our relationships, and even nurture our relationships with our colleagues. So by now you've heard that through September 30th, 2020, all G Suite customers get access to the advanced Meet features, as you see listed here for the enterprise version. The three features that are most important are being able to have up to 250 participants per call or Meet session, the ability to record meetings and save to Drive. So recording meetings is very important now with so many people working from home, different time zones, different circumstances. Not everyone can attend the live meeting, so having that recording is very important. But the recording option is off by default in the admin console, so I'll show you how to turn that on during my demo. We get a lot of questions about this, so please pay attention during my demo how to turn that on. And the third significant option is live streaming for up to 100,000 viewers in your domain or your company. This is great for scheduling an all-hands meeting or company-wide meetings where you want to stream the live event. Live streaming is off by default in the admin console, so I'll show you how to turn that on. Our support team gets lots of questions about this, so once again, please pay attention during the demo how to turn that on. The most common question we get about live streaming is who can view the event? And the answer is anyone in your company or your domain, but no one external to your company. That's why it's perfect for a company-wide all-hands meeting. So think live streaming in Meet is really an internal event that you're hosting. So next, I want to just talk real quickly about some of the requirements for using Meet. Just like with G Suite, we support all the major operating systems that you see listed here. And of course, we run in the browser, so the browser experience is very important that you're running from a supported browser. Notice we support all the modern browsers that are listed here, especially Chrome. And also note that with Internet Explorer 11, you need to have a plugin for Meet. So make sure you have those requirements. These are the basic G Suite requirements that are out there. When it comes to Meet, because of the video conferencing, it's really important that you have reasonable bandwidth connection to the internet. So a couple of suggestions here. Number one, make sure that your Meet traffic has a short path to the internet. We call this the last mile, because once you get to the Google network, we have really our largest and fastest network in the world is Google. But getting there can be a little problematic when working from home. So one of our recommendations is when you're leading a Meet session or attending one, make sure that you're close to where your Wi-Fi router is. For example, today, I'm actually in the room where my Wi-Fi is located, where my router is, because I get the strongest connection. When I'm having a more casual meeting, a lot of times I might be sitting on the sofa at the other end of the house. But during these important meetings, I'm always near the router. Also, if necessary, you could physically attach an Ethernet cable to your laptop as well. In general, we always say avoid proxies, packet inspection, anything that's going to create some kind of latency or overhead for that network bandwidth. Another thing, since we're all working from home, right now, I told my daughter, make sure you're not watching anything on the TV because I don't want her live streaming of the movie to compete with my live streaming right now for this important event. Also, make sure that we support built-in cameras or external cameras, internal microphones. I'm also using a headset right now because I find that really gives me better audio quality while I'm speaking. We're not getting any noise from outside. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to my live demo into the admin console, and I'm going to demo the settings, the most important settings that are available for Google Meet. And I'm also going to do a demo of the Meet quality tool. So why don't I switch over to the admin console? So I'm in my demo account here. And since Google Meet is one of the app's core services, I'm going to click on Apps and then G Suite. And we'll see Hangout Meet is listed here. If you prefer using the menu, you can navigate here as well to Apps and then G Suite, and that'll bring up the same list. I'm going to click on Hangout Meets. And you'll notice, obviously, as a core service, it's on by default, but I'm going to walk us through the settings. So notice I'm going to click here, Meet Video Settings, and we'll see there's only a handful of settings that you really need to be familiar with. At the same time as we're looking at those settings, I want to point out the organizational hierarchy. So just like any other policies in the admin console, if you want to apply this policy to everyone in the company, make sure that you've clicked on the top level organization and those policies will inherit down the tree. You also have the option to set up different policies for the sub-organization. For example, maybe with my contractors, I don't want them to be enabling live streaming or being able to actually record sessions. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked on the top level organization here, and let's look at the various options. So you'll notice that telephony, it is on by default, and basically what that's referring to is the ability for people to join Hangout Meet sessions with using a phone number. So if I go into my calendar here, you'll notice that with this particular Meet session that I've added to this event, there's also a phone number here. If I disable that, I won't be able to join via the phone. Let me go into this event for a moment because I do want to point out some of the questions we might get around these phone numbers. So I want you to notice that I am based in the US, so it actually assigned a phone number for me that is based in the US, so it's basically a local charge. There's also a PIN number assigned. But we also support international numbers. So if I was inviting a colleague of mine that was located, for example, in the UK, in London, then they would actually get a phone. They would be using a phone number that is local to them. But that is on by default. You probably don't want to change that. The next setting we have here is client log updates. I don't think you want to change that. But notice that recording is off by default, okay? So if you do not turn that on, which is very easy to do just by clicking here, let people record their meetings, and then we need to save that setting. Now everyone in my organization or in my company, they will be able to now click record. So that's an important setting to turn on. As I mentioned, we get a lot of questions about that, okay? And the next one is streaming. For demo purposes, I had already left this one on, but once again, if this is off, you want to click let people stream their meetings. So what this will do is it'll allow you to now turn an event into a live streaming event. So once again, if I go back into my calendar, you'll notice that I have my main event here. And if I wish to turn this into a live streaming event, I can click Add Live Stream. And notice there's now a link that you can share with everyone else in the company. Okay? Now, with a live streaming event, I just want to point out that let me change this from a weekly team meeting to an all hands meeting. And I know someone's going to ask this question, so I'm going to answer it now. So I like to think of the all hands meeting where I've turned on the live stream. I think of it as the green room, for example. So maybe I'm going to invite Rita is going to be one of my presenters, and maybe Eric is going to be one of my presenters as well. I'm going to go ahead and I can now save this event. And what happens is, and let's say I will change this to tomorrow, because I know some of you will make a comment about that. So I want to point that out. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., this is going to be a one-time company-wide event that we're going to be hosting. Rita and Eric are going to be presenters with me. So if I go ahead and save this, I want to make sure that I copy the live streaming event itself. You see the link that's there. So I'm going to click Save. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here. And then I'm going to create another event. And then I'm going to just call this company meeting. I'm going to edit this. And it's also going to be tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, watch the company live streaming event here, and I will paste the link. So we're not going to actually have everyone in the company participate in the other event. They're going to be participating in what we call the view-only event. And I may even want to highlight that here so people will see that. So I do not want to add this as a Google Meet event because what they're going to be doing is they're going to be clicking on this link. You could also send it out as an email, the link to the live streaming event for tomorrow. You could also post it on your internal websites. Okay, so back into the admin console. So you want to make sure the live streaming is on by default. And then the other interesting setting that you may want to consider looking at is the default video quality. So what happens is when you join a session or you start a Meet session, Google will automatically adjust the video quality. It'll start at a higher level, and then if it finds that your bandwidth is low, it may lower the video quality. And that's the normal behavior. You could consider having it start at a limited video bandwidth if you know everyone's working from home. It's just something to consider. In which case, if users have a better bandwidth, they could also increase the quality on their own individually. The other option is to have every Meet session start as audio only, and then that will force users to have to turn on the video by themselves. But by default, Google will automatically adjust and figure out what your bandwidth is and determine the quality. Just wanted you to see what those other sessions are, other options are. Interoperability is only something if you're using third-party video conferencing systems. And usually people don't change the video calling, but this is allow people to actually, this is on by default. So usually you're not going to tinker with that. I do want to point out that anytime you do make any changes when you turn on a setting or turn off a setting, it usually takes about 24 hours at most for that to propagate. Okay? So once again, if you turn on recording and you turn on stream, it could take overnight. It may take until tomorrow till everyone finally is able to use that setting. Okay? So if it's something that you haven't turned on yet, why don't you do that right now? And then by tomorrow, all your users should be able to use that. And then the last thing that I want to demo in the admin console is the Meet Quality tool. And this is a great tool that gives you not just visibility to all of your Meet sessions in your organization, but it's also great for troubleshooting. So you can see that we have quite a few sessions that we're done here. Let me see, which one do I want to click on? Some of these have some external users, so I want to be careful about exposing them. But let's go ahead and do the one that I did yesterday. And it does tell me who all the participants are, so that might be useful information. I can see what devices they've joined on and when they've joined. I can also see who was the presenter. But what's most interesting here is it's good for troubleshooting because it's telling me, for example, what the network congestion is. So you could be proactive about this, but for example, maybe one of your users says, oh, we didn't have a really good meet session, or maybe some of the scores that were reported were low, so you can troubleshoot this. But I love the fact that it tells you whether your numbers are within recommended parameters or not. So network congestion was under 10%, so that's good. In terms of the time it took for a packet to travel to Google and back, that was relatively fast. Jitter is probably the important one. I love the term jitter, this idea of if you see the video is moving a little bit, poor quality, or the audio, that means that there's some jittering. And then also CPU load. We do find that some people's laptops require more CPU usage. If someone has multiple CPUs in their device, they may have better performance. We can also drill down on a particular user. So for example, I could actually just deselect the other users and just keep this one particular user. I see they joined via the phone, and I could see what kind of performance they had as well. So this is very helpful for troubleshooting. The other tool that I find very helpful for troubleshooting is actually the general reporting features that are available. So if I go to reporting, and the great use case is if someone says, who attended the all hands meeting? And you have hundreds of people in the company. You could go to the Meet Quality tool, or you could actually go to reports. So just like we have other audit logs for various services, there is an audit log for Hangout Meet. So for Google Meet, we've been renaming that. So we still see a lot of our tools say Hangouts Meet, though it's going to become Google Meet. And if we look at that now, you can see that I can see all the various times people went in and out of our Google Meet sessions. So that's a lot to report on. If you wish, you could export that. You could download that. Another thing to consider is getting the reports on a particular Meet event. So if I highlight this Meet event ID and I filter for the meeting code and I hit apply, it'll only show me what's referenced in the log for that one particular meeting event. And maybe that's what I wish to download for reporting purposes. I can export it to a Google Sheet. I can export it to a CSV file, and I can also identify which columns I want to include that report. So let me go back to my presentation because I'm pretty much done with the demo. And then just as a reminder for your end users, so they're able, once again, let me go out of here, go into a new calendar event. Oops, I meant to discard that. So for example, maybe I want to set up a meeting later on. I can go into my calendar event, and I'm going to just call this quick sync up. And notice by default, it's going to add this as a meeting reference. And once again, I'm going to invite my colleague who's based in London there. And then if we look at this, you'll notice that it's automatically assigned a Meet ID number there, a meeting ID. And also I can join via my phone if I wish. So there we go there. Another way of using Meet for your end users is just to go to meet.google.com. So it shows, since it integrates with my calendar, you can see it shows me what meetings I have available today. I can join or start a new meeting. So I'm just going to call this quick chat. So I'm going into the end user area, but I want you to notice that I am using this for the first time. So it's very important that, like any other service that you're using the first time, you want to allow it to use your microphone and your camera. Otherwise, they will not be able to join these sessions, okay? So that's very important So you may want to educate your users on that as well. Okay, let me quit that. And the other thing that I want to point out is that there are a lot of resources that are out there. I know sometimes when there's too much information, you don't know where to start, but we have several links that we think are a good place to start. I like this one because it gives you a quick introduction, and there's a lot of videos on Google Meet. Notice this is from our Learning Center, so there's also some other resources available on other products and services that we have. We have some great articles that we've put together on working remote, some best practices and recommendations from Google. And by the way, we're going to add the link to all of these resources on the event page when this event is over, so you can reference those. We have some, we also have some really good resources that you can share with your users. There's a great Google Meet cheat sheet, which is how they can get started with Meet. There's a PDF file that you can download and share with your users. And don't forget that the education organization, our education team, our EDU team, has a whole series on EDU on Air, and there's some great resources available just for our teacher communities, because we want a big shout out to all of our teachers right now that are working remotely and doing virtual learning as well. There's a big learning curve for them as well to accomplish their tasks with our children. Okay. And then lastly, I just want to go over some of the top questions that we do get from our customers. So the first one is, can external participant join a call? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you remember, when I looked at in my calendar, I mentioned that there is this phone number that is available. This is part of the Google Meet service. So people can join actually via their phone. So they don't even have to connect to the video if they don't wish. Is the meeting content secure? Absolutely yes. As you know, with all of our Google services, we encrypt in transit, we encrypt at rest. So the answer to that is yes. And then, are third-party service required for dial-in access? And the answer to that is no, because once again, with our Google Meet service, we do actually include, once again, integration with your local phone numbers. The user does have to provide a PIN to get to that event if they're just connecting through the phone. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and really appreciate everyone participating. Hopefully you found this useful. I also want to remind you about next week's Meet session on Meet the Expert, getting started with Google Meet. We'll look at more of the end user experience. We'll actually walk through a live Meet session that I'm going to have with my teammates. Once again, that's next Thursday, the 14th of May at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, the same as the time right now. So thank you very much. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.